quick. I'm curious, in the women's locker room there at the YMCA, do y'all allow biological males in the women's locker room? Do you allow a biological male in the women's locker room? Yeah, are they welcome to in the same space as females are? Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Got me on hold. Passing on to somebody who can answer the question. We'll find out. Hi there. So I had a question first for at the YMCA in the women's locker room. Do you allow males, biological males, in there with women, with females? Hmm. Okay. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry about that. It's it's tough. Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you a question. So you're saying if somebody may be a biological male, but their pronouns are she, her, they're allowed in the YMCA locker room? Yeah. No, I understand. So when you open the gender neutral locker room, will the policy be that transgender people need to use that space and not the locker room against their biological gender? Okay. But you don't know if they would be required to go in there, or would they still be able to be in there? Would males still be able to be there with females? I'm sure you know that. You know, as a female, it sounds like yourself. Some females have body image issues. They may have had sexual assault, so it may not have anything to do with the transgender person. It may just be they're nervous around females because of PTSD stuff. So, um, I'm just curious, are you planning on to have a policy where, you know, if you're transgender, then you need to go into the neutral locker room, or are you still going to allow transgender people to go in locker rooms that don't match their biological sex? Okay. Yep. let me ask you one other question real quick. So I appreciate your being very informational and helping me out and being kind and courteous. So other question I had, let's say my daughter goes in there and she's not happy about the idea. Would would she her only choice be able to go to the gender neutral locker room, or what would happen? Or you don't know the answer to that question either. So what I'm saying is I have two teenagers. So my two teenagers who, okay. Second question. So in the transgender girls locker room, do you allow transgender girls in that locker room? Yeah, because that's the same thing. That's still a biological male. So I'm trying to understand because I have two teenagers and I want to make sure, you know, their needs and their concerns and their feelings are dealt with. And yeah. So where would they go? Where did transgender girls go? Where do they shower and change? So you're saying so let me just confirm. So you're saying that transgender girls would be in there with biological males. Is that what you're telling me? You're not saying that. You're not saying that. But you said there's no gender neutral locker room for teenagers. So do you make them go from with their biological sex to a specific locker room, or do they get to go to the locker room that doesn't fit their biological sex? Because that's a concern for me is for my teenager being in there with a male. Um, so so you allow males to go in with females in the boys' locker room. Okay. Mhm. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for all the information you give me. You've been helpful. Okay. Thank you. Got me on hold, transferred me over to the supervisor. I don't know if I'll get a voicemail or not. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, I'll hang just for a little bit. I'm really interested in finding the answer to this question. Thank you. I don't know, keep me here. Might have to edit this video. So far, the YMCAs that I have contacted um, have all said that they allow biological males in the women's locker room, yet their signs say women only. So either got to change the policy or change the signs and say on there that you actually allow transgender women or whatever you allow in there because you're literally misleading all your members. You want to have a policy like that. Don't mislead people. Kind of need to let them know what they're walking into. But this lady's been really, really polite and helpful and empathetic, unlike the YMCA in Northampton, who's basically made excuses and not addressed my daughter's concerns and needs, and done other things like send their lawyers on me, and cops, and put a no trespassing ordinance, don't return my calls, my emails, or anything. First response I got from them was from their lawyers. The second response I got from them was the cops, and then a no trespassing order. And they've not dealt with this. So, and I know that lots of members are not happy about it because women tell me outside the YMCA in Northampton, Mass, all the time that they see males in there and they're scared to say anything because they're scared of social backlash, maybe even social exile, possibly losing their membership, and maybe coming after their job. I've heard that directly from other women members and other male members. Male members are more inclined to just use a four-letter word with what the politics going on. And one woman I talked to actually went over and talked to cops and would not tell me the details of what her thing that happened in the locker room with a male, a transgender woman. Just to confirm, I have no problem with transgender women. I have a problem with spaces that are allocated for females being now where males can come into, when there is in most spaces a gender neutral space that they can go to. Yep. Hi there. So let me ask you a question. Let me just confirm. So in the women's locker room, however if you see yourself as a woman, even though your biology is a male, you can use that locker room. So does it say on your sign that you do that, or does it say women and transgender women, or does it just say women on it? So isn't that a little misleading to members? Shouldn't you have a sign that lets people know what they're walking into? Especially like you know, there are females, that have maybe had sexual assault or have body image issues, has nothing to do with any transgender, just has to do with a bad history in their life, or maybe they have body image issues. So don't you think you should let people know with a sign that's accurate of what's actually allowed in there? It's kind of misleading. Mhm. 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 Let me ask you another question. Where do like non-binary people go? Can they go in either locker room they want to go? Okay. 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 Let me ask another question. So if how about a trans man? Can they go in the male locker room or the female locker room, or can they just go in the male locker room? So they're good. Okay, so what you're telling me is trans man can go in either locker room, trans female, non-binary, and women can go in there. So they're basically all gender. All your spaces are all gender. You just told me because you just said every gender can go in every locker room. I understand that, but can you understand how your site? I understand. Understand. My question is, if you have a space that says it's all gender, yet it sounds like you just told me directly that every gender is allowed in every space. Why don't you put that on the signage so people know that? Because there's literally no private space for a female or a male in your building. I mean, I get the inclusivity. I get it. But what about males and females who want space. It seems like it's like now there's no space for a person who doesn't really want to see somebody nude that may happen, or see them nude and have all these issues. So now you have these spaces. Mhm. So, but don't you feel like, it's kind of like you're making women bend over backwards when there's a specific space for all gender people, like transgender people, men and women, like non-binary, when majority of the population, you're asking them to make the sacrifice, give away their private spaces, and you have a sign up there that is misleading and inaccurate. Because you just told me all your spaces are all gender. Yeah, I mean, I've literally called YMCAs all over, and they tell me the same thing. And I really think you need to change your signage. I mean, my daughter's uncomfortable with that, so she's a female, so now she has to go to gender neutral. It just doesn't make much sense. It's like I completely understand trans lives matters, but it's almost feeling like trans lives matters more than anybody else matters, because I don't think my daughter would come to a space like that. I think she'd just be too upset. I mean, if you think about that, so I hope you at least change your signage. So members, I mean, you literally have 20 million members around the U.S. You have, I think, 20,000 locations. I hope y'all do that, and I hope you pass that on to other YMCA to do that, because I think and I mean, the point of a locker room is exclusivity. That's kind of the point. It's the one place where it's not about being inclusive. It's about people feeling like they need privacy. And I completely, like when you're in a bathroom, it's different. You can go in a stall, but when you're in a space where you're naked, you're seeing other people naked, it makes people uncomfortable. Everybody. Okay. Yeah, I understand it. Or yeah, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. I just see a lot of things made happen for transgender people, and females not. So let me ask you another question. The teenagers are girls spaces or boys spaces? No, no, I'm looking for more. I'm looking for more information about. Okay, sure. I'd love to talk to him. Thank you very much. Now they're transferring me to CEO. Hmm. The CEO. Hmm. I will call back. Thank you. I can't leave a message because I don't want to divulge his private information. But as you can see, they cut me off, and it's clear that the YMCA, everyone I have talked to, has misleading signage at the least. They have signage that says it's a women's space or it's a men's space, when in reality, every space at the YMCA is all gender. So their sign is literally misleading every member. You just heard the conversation directly from the YMCA manager, not the CEO, but the manager of the space, confirmed everything I said. And And she was very polite and very thing. But then when I got to the point where we were talking about trans girls and trans boys, she didn't want to talk about that. So she transferred me over. And we got a problem, y'all. We got a problem. We got a problem with misinformation, with not just the YMCA, with literally spaces all over a lot of states where they have laws in place that say no matter whatever you define your gender is, regardless if your biology differs, that you can go in that space. But the signs are misleading people and telling them that there's just women or just men. Well, in reality, it's all genders. So at minimum, we should change these signs. Actually, what we should do is actually think about what females are thinking right now about their insecurities of their body image, their actually fear of being in a private space naked or with a naked person anywhere near them because of rape or sexual assault or anything else. It seems like we have this small population of transgender people. We have this specific place for transgender and people who are non-binary, all the genders. I can't keep up with all the genders. But anyway, they have a place that's an all gender place. They can go there. They have a space, but yet the plan seems to make females feel uncomfortable. Even males feel uncomfortable. It's almost like trans life just don't matter. They matter more than anybody else matters. It's clear from that conversation that is what is going on. You can argue with me about all this, but I just pointed out we had a conversation on the phone. And what happens is females, when they speak out about this stuff or they think they want to speak out, they're shamed. They're called transphobic because they don't want to be around males when they've been sexually assaulted or have body image issues. Or they're called hateful. Or maybe they're socially shamed, socially exiled, their jobs in jeopardy. They're attacked. So they feel like they can't speak up. You're not going to have as much as that for men because a female, a trans man in a man's space, men are not too worried about that for obvious reasons. Actually, the person more in jeopardy is the trans man because they're the ones who are in jeopardy because they're all males in there, testosterone, all that stuff. And the fact that what happens a large majority of the time is males actually rape females, not the other way around. So the concern in the men's locker room would be for the trans man. That's where my concern would be. The concern in the women's locker room would be for women who are nervous for the reasons I just told you, and then shaming him. And I think, I'm not sure of this, but I think the reason the YMCA doesn't do that, because they know if they put it up on a sign where people can see it, that they will get a lot of backlash and they'll probably lose some memberships. But when they can just don't tell people and it just kind of happens individually, groups don't come to them. And then they feel scared or shamed or worried about what might happen. So I think it's the obligation of the social obligation of the YMCA to be transparent and put those signs up on the wall. So I've talked to 3 or 4 states. This is one I've talked to. And you can see what's going on. So here's the proof. I'm sorry I couldn't broadcast her voice and let you know which YMCA that was, but for legal reasons, I can't do that. But you can see that's a very real conversation I'm having. So y'all have a good day and start standing up for women. We need it now, y'all. Not just in these private spaces for women, but in our sports. Their mere identity is being stolen with these terms like chest feeding. You can't chest feed. You have breastfeed. That's it. That's a misnomer. It's a fable. You have to have breast to feed a child. You can't chest feed. And no, you don't have birthing people. These are females that are saying they're trans men, which is fine, but they are females. They are mothers. They're not birthing people. Okay, so let's live in reality. Let's not live in fantasy and let females pay the price. Okay,
With sports, their spaces and their identity. We know what's going on in sports. That's nothing new. All right, y'all. Have a good day. Check me out at dadfedup.org.